Okay, so good day everyone. Let's now have chapter 2. Okay, so we have here Laplace and inverse Laplace transforms. So the first subtopic under chapter 2 is the introduction to Laplace transformation. So given a function f of t, where t is greater than or equal to 0, its Laplace transform f of s, or that is simply equal to Laplace of f of t, is defined as f of s is equal to Laplace of f of t, or that is equal to the integral of e raised to negative st f of t dt. Or it can be equal to the limit of the integral of e raised to negative st f of t dt from 0 to a, where a approaches infinity. Okay? So, pero actually, class, ito yung madalas na ginagamit natin. Okay? The Laplace transform of a certain function, say f of t, where t is greater than or equal to 0, is simply equal to the integral of that function multiplied by e raised to negative st from 0 to infinity, where s is the complex number frequency parameter, and that is equal to sigma plus I omega, or IW ang naano dito. Okay? So if the limit exists, the integral is said to exist or to be convergent. And if the limit does not exist, the integral does not exist and is said to be divergent. So you need to take note that Laplace of f of t is equal to f of s. But if you have Laplace of g of t, it should be equal to g of s. And for Laplace of y of t, it should be equal to y of s, and so on. So kapag given function na ilalaplace mo, it should be in small letter. And then for kapag Laplace transformed na siya, it should be in capital letter. And take note of the function, guys. Ito in terms of t, and then this one is in terms of s. Kapag Laplace transformed na siya, it will now become in terms of s. Okay? So we have the derivations of some Laplace transforms. Okay, so for example, if you are asked to evaluate the Laplace of 1, so we have here f of s is equal to Laplace of 1. In this case, your f of t is simply equal to 1. So yan. So dito guys, ang f of t mo, ang function mo is simply equal to 1. So the Laplace of that function, or the Laplace of 1, is your f of s. So parang denotion niya lang kasi yan eh. It's either this one or this one ang gusto mong pag-denote ng Laplace transformation ng function mo. Okay, and that is now equal to the integral, kagaya nga ng sinabi natin kanina, integral of e raised to negative st f of t dt from 0 to infinity. And since f of t is equal to 1, so isa-substitute lang natin dito sa equation na to. So we now have this equation. And take note that from the integral of e raised to u du from 0 to infinity, it is simply equal to negative daw. It is simply equal to e raised to u plus c. Actually, kahit pala as simple as the integral of e raised to u du lang pala is equal to e raised to u plus c. Ganyan. So, from that, u let u is equal to negative st. So, parang to solve this one, we are going to apply this form. Okay? So, we have ang u natin, in this case, as you can see, if we compare these two equation, ang u natin is negative st. Ang u natin is negative st. That's why ang du natin is negative s dt. Okay, so we have negative u is negative st and du is negative s dt. So, if we now integrate the equation, then substitute back u, thus, we have Laplace of 1 is equal to, so parang pagka in-integrate kasi natin to class, di ba? Di ba? E raised to u du. So, kung mapapansin nyo, meron tayong neutralizing factor. Neutralizing factor na negative 1 over s. Kasi kung mapapansin nyo, ang meron lang tayo dito is parang e raised to negative st dt. Eh, ang ano natin dito, ano to? Ang du natin dito is negative s dt. 'Di ba? So instead of negative dt lang, instead of dt lang, meron tayo ditong du na negative s dt. So parang itong negative s is hindi natin nakikita dito sa equation na to. So para ma-neutralize yung equation natin, we have the neutralizing factor which is the reciprocal of this one. Okay? And that is negative 1 over s. So actually, alam niyo naman na yan sa integral nyo, di ba? So, we now have the Laplace transform is equal to negative 1 over s times e raised to u du. So, nagkaroon tayo ng neutralizing factor, guys. So, negative 1 over s, that's the neutralizing factor, times e raised to u plus c. Parang ganyan, okay? So, the limit is from 0 to infinity. So, let's now substitute. But before that, we bring down e raised to negative st sa denominator so that the exponent now is positive. Okay, and then again, we have now negative 1 over s multiplied by substituting t ng infinity at saka 0. First, we have when it is infinity, ito siya, and minus when it is 0, ito siya. Okay? So, take note that this one is simply equal to 0. Bakit? Kasi 1 over e raised to infinity is simply equal to infinity. So, and we know that 1 over infinity is equal to 0. So, sabi kay calculus, ewan ko kung naalala nyo pa, kay DC, sabi niya, the limit of 1 over x as x approaches 0 is, as x approaches infinity, kako sana, is simply equal to 0. And the limit of 1 over x as x approaches 0 is equal to infinity. So, I hope you can still recall this one. Okay? So, yan, 0 daw siya. And this one, e raised to s raised to e raised to s times 0 is 1. So, 1 over 1 is 1. Okay? So, ang naiwan na lang therefore dito ay negative 1 over s times negative 1. That's why the Laplace transform, ito pala siya, ito pala, naisulat ko pala dito, inulit ko pa. So we have negative 1 over s times 1 over infinity minus 1 over 1, or that is now equal to negative 1 over s times 0 minus 1. Ito nga po yun. Okay? So, the Laplace of 1 now is equal to 1 over s. That is, s is greater than 0. Okay? So, any constant, therefore, if you are going to get the Laplace of any constant, it will be equal to c over s. So, yan kasi nagkataon na 1 lang siya. Kasi, bakit? Kasi the Laplace of a constant is simply equal to, let's say, f of t, di ba? F of t, where f of t is equal to 1. Yan. If f of t is equal to 1, pwede mong gawin to na c times Laplace of f of t. Yan. Or simply c times the Laplace of 1 since f of t is equal to 1. And since Laplace of 1 is 1 over s, so multiply it by c, meron ka na ngayong c over s. Parang ano lang guys, parang derivative of 3x, parang ganun, or constant x. Diba? Parang derivative of constant multiplied by x will always be equal to c, or that is c dx. Diba? So, parang ganun din dito. Okay? So, next is, ayan, sabi niya dito, in general, yan yung sinabi ko kanina. And then in example 2, we have the Laplace transform of, okay, so we have the Laplace transform of e raised to negative at, where a is any constant. Okay, where a is a constant, guys. So the Laplace transform of e raised to negative at is, ayan, so we have, again, yung formula natin is the integral of e raised to negative st times f of t dt. So, sinubstitute na natin si f of t ng e raised to at kasi yun yung kukuhanan natin ng Laplace. So, to solve for that, we can combine these two applying the law of exponential. Okay? So, since pareho sila ng negative, this one can be rewritten as e raised to negative quantity s plus a times t. if you can still remember, meron tayo nun na a raised to x or simply x raised to a. Kapag same ang base mo, tapos magkaiba ang exponent mo, 'di ba? Pwede mo silang pagsamahin by getting their sum. Okay? Or if this is negative, this one is negative. And this if this one is also negative, this one will be negative then. Okay? So we simply get the sum of their exponents. Okay? And then same base. Okay? So kaya naman nito, dito kasi since they are both negative, so pinagsama natin siya, meron tayo ngayong negative s minus a, or we have negative quantity s plus a times t dt. Okay? So, yan. Kaya natin ginawa yan para magamit pa rin natin itong formula na to. Diba? So, in this case, ang u na natin is not just negative st. Rather, ang u na natin ngayon ay negative quantity s plus at. Kaya naman, ang du na natin is negative quantity s plus a dt. Kasi si s plus a is parang kinoconsider natin sila as constant dahil andito ang parang naging variable natin ay si t. Kasi function natin is in terms of t. So, integrate, then substitute back u. So we have Laplace of e raised to negative 80 now is equal to negative 1 over s plus a e raised to u. So kinopya lang natin si u. Saan nanggaling ulit si negative 1 over s plus a? That is the neutralizing factor. Okay, that's the neutralizing factor kasi dapat ito dt lang. Kaso meron siyang nakasamang negative quantity s plus a. So kailangan mong i-neutralize yung equation mo by multiplying your e raised to u by the reciprocal of negative quantity s plus a. So parang nagno-neutralize siya. Okay? So ayan na, negative quantity s plus a times e raised to u. Kasi e raised to u lang nandito eh. Pero nga, sabi ko, dapat kasi, applicable to kapag kung ano man yung u mo, parang ganito, e raised to t dt is simply equal to e raised to x na lang. E raised to x dx is simply equal to e raised to x. Kaso, kung meron kang 2 dito, tapos ito dx lang, di ba ang u mo dyan ay 2x? Ang du mo ay 2dx. So, merong nakasama si dx dito na wala naman dito. So, kaya naman, para ma-neutralize yan, itong supposedly na e raised to 2x lang, imumultiply mo siya ng 1 over 2. Okay? To neutralize the equation. Okay? So, 2dx, so kung imumultiply mo yung sagot by the reciprocal of this 2 here. Okay? So, ganun po yung idea dito. So, we have now, i-substitute na natin, but first, ibaba ulit natin. Oh, sorry, this one should be positive kasi binaba na natin. And this one should be positive. Ayan. And then, this one should be positive. Sorry, nagkamali ako dito. Ayan na. Okay, so dapat positive na kasi binaba na natin siya. From numerator, dinala natin sa denominator. Therefore, the exponent will now become positive. Okay, so we have negative the quantity of, bakit pala anin? S plus A. Okay, so this one should be S plus. Okay, nalimutan ko ulit. This one should be 1 over negative quantity 1 over S plus A. So, ayan. I-substitute na natin. When t is infinity, we have 1 over e raised to s plus a times infinity. And then when t is 0, ayan, pinalitan natin. Again, this one is 0. Kasi 1 over infinity na siya. Diba? Again, this is 0. Kaya isa 1 over infinity. Ito pala. Yan. So, negative 1 over s plus a times, this one is 1 over infinity na. Okay, so ito, magiging 1 over infinity na siya kasi naka-raise sa infinity. So parang any constant raised to infinity will simply be equal to infinity. Kasi, di ba, infinity na nga yung exponent niya eh. Okay? And then this one also is e raised to 0. Di ba? Any number multiplied by 0 is 0. So any number raised to 0 is also equal to 1. Kaya we have here 1. So, ayan, this one is now equal to 0, and this one is equal to negative 1. And then, simplifying further, since this is negative and this is negative, magiging positive na siya. Okay, so the result is now equal to 1 over s plus a. Okay, so, yan guys, if you have the Laplace transform of e raised to negative 80 it is equal to 1 over s plus a. Ngayon, kung meron naman kayong ma-encounter na Laplace transform ng e raised to positive 80, it is simply equal to a 1 over s minus a. Okay, so parang nagbaliktad lang yung sign. Nung ito, ang sagot ay 1 over s plus a, dito naman, ang magiging sagot ay 1 over s minus a. Okay? So, yan guys. Let's continue. Okay, so let's have another example. Okay, so find the Laplace transform of t given that t is greater than 0. And so, meron tayo dito. Find the Laplace transform of t or Laplace of t. Ayan, ito siya. Given that t is greater than 0. So again, ayan, sinubstitute lang natin si f of t ng t. Okay? But this time, para ma-integrate natin yung equation natin, gagamit tayo ng integration by parts. Okay? So, using integration by parts, we let u equal to t and du equal, dv kako sana. Di ba malala nyo kasi si integration by parts? The integral of u dv is simply equal to uv minus the integral of v du. So, kailangan natin mag-let ng u at saka ng dv from this equation. So, from this equation, nilet ko na si u ko ay t, tapos ang dv ko ay si e raised to negative st dt. Okay? So, yan po ang ginawa ko. Para from that u and dv, we can now determine our du and our v. So, our du is the derivative of u and that is dt. And v is the integral of this one. Diba? Integral of dv is v and the integral of e raised to negative st dt is simply equal to negative 1 over s e raised to negative st, just like what we have in the previous example. So, na-introduce na yan kung ano yung integral ng e raised to negative st dt. Okay? So, sabi natin doon, that is equal to negative 1 over s e raised to negative st, where negative 1 over s is the neutralizing factor. Okay? So, yan po siya. So, meron na tayong u, du, dv, and v. So, i-equate na natin siya dito. So, we now have uv. The product of u and v is negative t over s e raised to negative st. So, that's the product. Minus, but don't forget the limit guys. It is still from 0 to infinity. Minus the integral of v du. So the product of v du is a negative 1 over s e raised to negative st times dt. At ito siya. Okay, this is v du. So this is uv and this is v du. So again, ito ay naka-integrate. So integrate na namin, na naman ulit natin. Integrate na naman natin. Ano ba yan? Okay? So, i-copyhin lang natin to. Ayan, bring down, copy, minus. Ang integral nito is, kumbaga ito is i-factor out na lang natin. Finactor out natin si negative 1 over s, tapos i-integrate natin si e raised to negative st. And again, the integral of e raised to negative st is this one, which is equal to this one. Diba? Yan yung integral niya. So, simplifying further, you now have negative t over s e raised to negative st from 0 to infinity minus, so negative 1 over s times negative 1 over s is positive 1 over s squared e raised to negative st. So before we substitute the limits, ibaba muna natin si e raised to negative st sa denominator and it will now become positive. Okay? And then after that, i-substitute na natin. So when t is infinity, this one is infinity. Yan. So this one is also infinity. And then this one is also equal to 0. Okay? So, again, ito is magiging ano siya magiging infinity over infinity, which is indeterminate. So, automatic that is equal to 0. Okay? So, or actually parang infinity times 1 over infinity is parang halimbawa kung i-factor out ko sana yun, infinity times 1 over infinity. So, parang ito is 0. So, automatic, magiging 0 na siya. At saka indeterminate nga po yun. So, hindi siya possible. I think na-include ata yun doon. Check nga natin. Sinabi pa doon. Ay, hindi pala naka-indicate. Sige. So, anyway, yun nga, hindi yun possible kasi you cannot have infinity over infinity. So, that's 0. And then this one is 1 over, ayan, e raised to 1 over s squared e raised to s times infinity minus 1 over s squared e raised to 0. Okay, so we have 0, 0 to, minus negative 0, minus, this one is also 0, minus 1 over s squared kasi magiging 1 to. So the result now is negative times negative is positive, and that is 1 over s squared. Actually, kahit pala hindi natin to i-infinity, even if it's t, tapos automatic na kasi na infinity in denominator, so automatic na rin na since infinity in denominator, it will now become 0. Okay? So yan, 1 over s squared. So the Laplace transform of t is equal to 1 over s squared. Okay? Yan. Saan siya? So yan. Laplace of t is equal to 1 over s squared. Okay? Next. Okay, so the Laplace transform of sine 80 and cosine 80. Actually, we have two ways to do it. The first method is to compute by definition with integration by parts. Yung definition na ito. Okay, and then gagamit ka ng integration by parts. Pero, sabi ko dyan, lots of work. Ang haba nun, guys. So, instead of using or doing solving for that, for sine 80 and cosine 80 using method 1, I have another method here, which is the use of the Euler's or Euler's formula. Okay, so recall in chapter 1 that e raised to I 80 is equal to cosine 80 plus I sine 80. Diba? Sana naalala nyo pa sa chapter 1. So ngayon, if you get the Laplace transform of e raised to I 80, it will now be equal to the Laplace transform of cosine 80 plus I times Laplace transform of sine 80. So, ibig sabihin, kapag sinolve natin to, malalaman na din natin kung ano ang Laplace ng cosine 80 at saka ang Laplace ng sine 80. So, how are we going to do that? First, we solve for the Laplace transform of e raised to I 80. So, maalala nyo, dun sa previous example natin, we have the Laplace transform of e raised to 80 is 1 over s minus a. So, dito naman sa case na to, the Laplace transform of e raised to I80 is now equal to 1 over s minus IA. Okay? S minus IA. Kasi, again, ang ano lang natin dito, ang variable lang na kino-consider natin dito is yung t. Okay? And then next, para ma-simplify natin to, we need to multiply it by the complex conjugate of the denominator. So we have multiply the numerator by s plus ia and then multiply the denominator by s plus ia ulit. Okay, then simplifying further, you now have s plus ia over s squared plus a squared. So kapag kinuha mo yung product nito, okay, applying itong dalawang denominator na to, applying yung sa topic natin sa chapter 1, ganito ang magiging resulta. Okay, s squared plus a squared. So alam niyo na yan, guys. And then, paghiwalayin natin, you now have s over quantity, s over s squared plus a squared plus I times A over S squared plus I squared, plus A squared. So, kung mapapansin nyo, itong Laplace nito ay equal to dito. At ang sabi natin, this one is also equal to this one. So, kapag kinompare natin, di ba? Pag kinompare natin, kung mapapansin nyo, yung real part, which is S over s squared plus a squared is equal to the Laplace of cosine 80. Tapos yung imaginary part, which is a over s squared plus a squared, is simply equal to the Laplace of sine 80. Therefore, we have this formula or this form. Laplace of cosine 80 is s over s squared plus a squared, and Laplace of sine 80 is equal to a over s squared plus a squared. So those are some of the those are derivations of some of the Laplace transforms. So before we continue, okay, may time pa. Okay, so yun. Yung mga yan kasi, dinerive yan kasi meron tayo ditong some functions f of t and their corresponding Laplace transform. So ito yon si 1, ang Laplace transform daw niya, na-derive natin kanina, which is equal to 1 over s. Si t naman, na-derive din natin, which is 1 over s squared. Si t hindi na natin to dinerive, pero ang dinerive natin is ito at saka ito. So, for cosine bt, it is s over s squared plus b squared. For sine bt, it is b over s squared plus b squared. So if you want, you can derive this t squared, t raised to n, cos 80 and sinh 80. So dito sa cos 80 and sinh 80, applyan nyo to ng Euler's or Euler's formula. Okay? So, and ito pa pala, na-derive natin, e raised to 80 is 1 over s minus a. Pero ang sinolve natin kanina is e raised to negative 80. So, instead of doing this long methods na pag-solve dito sa mga previous na to, di ba? You can simply solve for the Laplace transform of a certain function gamit itong table na to. So, parang shortcut na to. Kumbaga, pinakita lang natin kung saan nanggaling tong mga formulas na ito. Ganun yung ginawa natin kanina. Kaya nga siya derivations. Okay? Pero syempre, kasi nga mahaba masyado yun, maproseso masyado yun, so gamitin nyo na lang ito. Okay? Ito na lang ang gamitin nyo pag-solve. If you have functions such as this one, ganito yung mga corresponding Laplace transform nila. Okay? So, but before we have more examples na involved doon, okay, na nako-cover nito, let's have this one first. The piecewise continuous functions. If you have piecewise continuous functions, the Laplace transform can be computed by integrating each integral and add up at the end. Pag sinabi natin piecewise, guys, yan yung parang alam niyo yung parang Laplace daw, f of x, okay, is simply equal to, parang ganyan siya, let's say, x squared for x is greater than 0. Ano ba yan yung pagsulat ko? X is greater than 0, but lesser than 2. Mga ganon, or greater than or equal, lesser than. Tapos we have x when x is greater than or equal to 2, greater than 0. Wait, mali. This one is, lesser pa rin. This one is equal. X is greater than or equal to 2 but lesser than 3. And so on. 1 for x is greater than or equal to 3 but lesser than 5. Mga ganyan. Basta yung putol-putol, parang ganun. Kumbaga, parang ganito. Diba? Dalawa yung ano natin. Ito yung una and then ito yung una. Parang f sub 1, f of t is equal to f sub 1 of t plus f sub 2 of t. Parang ganyan. Okay? So, ganyan po ang piecewise natin. Dito kasi ang binigay ko is in terms of a graph or figure. Okay? Pero pwedeng ganito ang ibibigay sa inyo later on. So, ang gagawin mo lang daw is kunin mo yung Laplace ng bawat isa. Kunin mo yung Laplace nito by taking into consideration the limits. Okay? And then Laplace nito, again, consider the limits. And then Laplace nito, again, consider the limits. And then after you get the Laplace of each of this, i-add up mo daw siya. Okay? I-add up mo siya. So, let's have this example. Yan. So, ano nyo muna to guys. Screenshot nyo muna hanggang dito. Yan. 1, 0. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, screenshot. Okay, next is ito. Ayan, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, screenshot. And then, next is ito. Ayan. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, screenshot. So, hanggang dito ang solution niya. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, screenshot. Okay, so, yan, we have, let's solve this one. Ito muna tayo. Okay. So, meron tayo ditong graph na hindi given ang function or yung piecewise continuous function niya. So, ang gagawin natin is alamin natin yung piecewise continuous function niya by how? In analytic, kung maalala ninyo, this one ay may point na 1, 1. This one ay may point na 0, 0 kasi nasa origin. And this one is my point na 2, 0. So to solve for the equation of this line, ito, consider 2 points which is equal to 1, 1 and 0, 0. And use the 2-point form ng pagdetermine ng equation ng line which is equal to y minus y sub 1 over x minus x sub 1 is equal to y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So, kahit alin dito yung y1, y2 mo guys. O, halimbawa, ito gusto kong x1, y1. Ito naman ay x2, y2. Ayan. So, ito, isubstitute natin dito. So, again, kahit alin dyan kahit magbaliktad, okay lang. So, again, substitute natin y minus y1. So this is y guys, this is y and that is equal to your function f of t. Okay, and this one is x axis and that is your t. Okay, that is your t. Okay? So si y natin which is y axis is your f of t and si x natin is equal to t. So we have y minus y1 is 1, x minus x1 is also 1. This is x1, guys. Okay? Okay, and then that is equal to y2 is 0 minus a 1 over 0 minus 1. So we have, this is now equal to positive 1. So simplifying further, you now have y minus 1 is equal to x minus 1. Or y now is equal to x, or y is equal to x. As simple as y is equal to x. So sabi ko kanina, y is equal to f of t and x is equal to t. That's why, that's why your f of t is equal to t for t is greater than or equal to 0 but lesser than or equal to 1. So ito 'yon. Itong range na 'to. 'Di ba? Kung mapapansin niyo ang ito pala. Itong sakop ng ano natin, ng line natin is from 0 to 1. Yan, from 0 to 1. So kaya naman ang limit niya is also from 0 to 1. And then as for this case, itong line na to, ito namang line na to, kung mapapansin nyo, ang nako-cover niya or ang range ng t na na-cover niya is from 1 to 2. Diba? From 1 to 2. Tapos ang function daw niya ay 2 minus t. So same process guys. Same process, mag-iiba lang yung points mo. So ang point mo na lang dito ay 1, 1, 1, 1, tsaka 2, 0. So this one is 2, 0. 2, 0. Tapos, same ang ano mo, ang, okay, so we have, same ang formula na gagamitin mo, this one. So, magiging, y minus y1 is still 1, x1 is still 1, y2 is 0, then minus 1, and x2 is 2, minus 1. So this is negative 1. Negative 1 over positive 1 is negative 1. So simplifying further, you have y minus 1 is equal to negative x plus 1. Okay, or that is now y is equal to negative x plus 2 if we move this one on the other side of the equation. And since y is equal to f of t and x is equal to t, you now have f of t is equal to negative t plus 2. Or simply 2 minus t. So, kaya naman, sabi ko dito, ang function ko for t is greater than or equal to 1 or sa duration ng 1 to 2 is simply equal to 2 minus t. So, that is how I arrived into this piecewise continuous function. So, recall your analytic. Okay? So, ngayon, since meron akong function, and I know that the Laplace of f of t is simply equal to this one. And sabi natin, since yung f of t natin is dalawa, so kunin mo lang yung Laplace ng bawat isa by taking into consideration the limits, okay, proper limits, and then get their sum. So kagaya nito, kinuha ko yung Laplace transform ng e raised to negative st times t dt from 0 to 1. Yan, kasi yan yung function ko. And then from 1 to 2, ang function ko ay ito. Kaya yan yung minultiply ko kay e raised to negative st dt. Okay, so ganun siya. And then, kung mapapansin nyo, ito, na-solve na natin to kanina sa previous example natin. It's just that the limit is from 0 to 1 instead of 0 to infinity. So same process, you have your u, you have your dv, and then you have your du, and you have your v. Okay, same process guys nag-iba lang tayo ng limits. Instead of 0 to infinity, we now have 0 to 1. Okay, so kapag same true dito, ganun din, integration by parts din ang gagamitin natin dito. Pero dito kasi, sabi ko, una ko munang sinolve is yung f of t is equal to t for 0, for t is greater than or equal to 0 but lesser than or equal to 1. Okay, and the result for that is ito. Ito siya. Ang result ay ito. We have negative times e raised to negative s over s squared minus e raised to negative s over s plus 1 over s squared. So kung mapapansin nyo, mas mahaba na siya kasi ang limit na natin is from 0 to 1. Okay? Which is, wala na tayong na-cancel out. Wala nang naging equal to 0. So, ganun lang siya. Same lang yung process ng pag-integrate, ganun pa rin. Yun lang talaga nag-iba na sa pag-substitute ng limits. Okay, so ito yung equivalent niya. Okay, moving forward, dito naman sa function na 2 minus t at saka t is lesser than or equal to 1, greater than or equal to 1 but lesser than or equal to 2, same process, integration by parts pa rin, but this time your u is 2 minus t and your du now is negative dt, not dt. But still your dv is e raised to negative st and your v is negative 1 over s. So ganun pa rin. Magkakaiba lang syempre, 'di ba? Kasi ang u na natin ngayon is 2 minus t. Ang du na rin natin ay negative dt. Kaya naman, uv, if you get the product of uv, ito, multiplied by this one, the result is this one. Okay, so we have negative quantity 2 minus t over s times e raised to negative st from 1 to 2. Ayan na guys, 1 to 2 na yung limit natin. Okay, kasi we are dealing with 2 minus t na. Okay, and then minus VDU. The product of VDU is negative to times negative, magiging positive na to. But still, minus pa rin yung operation dito. Unlike dito kasi, kung mapapansin nyo, positive to, negative to, tapos minus to. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, minus pa rin to at minus pa rin to. Eh dito, minus to, pero plus na to. Plus na kasi they are both negative. Okay? So yan, tuloy lang, ganun pa rin, negative 1 over s times i-integrate mo pa rin to, na naka-factor out si 1 over s. Eh, ang integral nito, maalala nyo, is equal to this one. Diba? So, simplifying further, diba, negative 1 over s squared na to, multiplied by negative, magiging positive na. Tapos, after nun, isa-substitute mo na yung limits. Eh, you know naman na how to substitute limits. And then after that, you will come up into this one. So, ito na yung equivalent, ito pala. Ito na yung equivalent ng Laplace of 2 minus t for t is greater than or equal to 1 but lesser than or equal to 2. But take note na hindi pa yan yung sagot. Ang sagot is the sum of this one. Ito siya, yung Laplace ng f of t, ito, plus yung Laplace ng Laplace ng 2 minus t, which is this one. So, kunin mo yung sum ng dalawa, guys. This one at saka this one. Okay? So, simplifying further, kung mapapansin nyo, we have ito at saka, asan ang magkapareho? Ito, at saka ito. So, e raised to negative s over s squared tsaka e raised to negative s over s squared, same sila, pareho sila ng sign. So, meron na tayo ngayon ditong negative 2 e raised to negative s over s squared kasi same sign sila. Pero pag magkaiba sila ng sign, syempre cancel out yon. Okay? And then, meron ulit tayo ditong e raised to negative s over s na negative, tas e raised to negative s over s na positive, so magka-cancel out. Ito at saka ito, magka-cancel out sila. Okay? And next, we have 1 over s squared. Wala siyang kagaya dito, so as it is. Positive, positive. And meron tayong hindi nagalaw dito, which is this one. Ito kasi is walang kagaya dito, so kinapi lang din ulit natin siya as it is din siya. Okay, as it is siya, ito siya. Okay? Ngayon, if we factor out 1 over s squared, may maiiwan na pinagbali-baliktad ko lang guys, inayos ko lang, ginawa kong e raised to negative 2s minus 2 e raised to negative s plus 1. So, pinagbali-baliktad ko lang yung numerator. Ngayon, kaya ko ginawa yon kasi this one, pwede nating i-factor ng ganito. Okay, so pwede siyang i-factor. Si e raised to negative 2s minus 2 e raised to negative s plus 1 can be factored out, which is now equal to quantity 1 minus e raised to negative s squared. Okay, so the final answer now is this one. This is the final answer. That is the Laplace transform for the function which is equal to t for t is greater than or equal to 0 but lesser than or equal to 1, and 2 minus t for t is greater than or equal to 1 but lesser than or equal to 2. Okay? Or that is for this graph here or figure here. Okay? So that's it for piecewise continuous function. So end muna natin.